The tape never lies, and Ty Simpson's performance versus that LSU defense reaffirms that he is a first-round quarterback prospect.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network. In 2019, national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. It is Watch the Tape Wednesday, and the tape never lies. We're going to talk about Ty Simpson and his performance versus LSU and why it reaffirmed and confirmed that he is a first-round caliber prospect. Avion Terrell, the younger brother of cornerback for the Atlanta Falcons, AJ Terrell, pitched a shutout versus the Florida State Seminoles. We're going to talk about his game and what he did in coverage. And Deuce Robinson. The stat line was a little misleading in terms of the impact he had on this game, but we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use freely across the app. Ty Simpson, Keith, had a good game against your LSU Tigers. That secondary gave him a nice little challenge. Just another data point for him, to be honest. And Ty Simpson completed 60% of his passes, 277 yards, passing one touchdown all game in this game. And Keith, the talking point for him is going to be, hey, he's not a guy that has 20-plus starts and different things like that. But, guys, I understand that he's going to be a first-year starter, a one-year starter if he decides to declare. But trust me, his game does not scream first-year starter. This guy has the mental aptitude to recognize and adjust his protection, right? The protections up front with the O-line, he adjusts it to what he sees. So making the checks and calls against zone blitzes, against simulated pressures, Keith, like he does that at a good rate. He navigates the pocket, right? I love how he's able to work off of the play action, stuff like that. The pocket navigation, Keith, and I remember I talked about him on Watch the Tape Wednesday probably about a month ago. And why I love Ty Simpson is when I watch him in the pocket, he navigates it the way Brady did, Brees did, Peyton did, like that vertical climb. Nowadays, and he's an athletic quarterback. I think they ran a QB zone read in this game where he kept it and got maybe 10, 15 yards on it, right? Yeah. So it's not like he's just a pure pocket guy, but he understands, hey, if I climb the pocket, I evade the edge pressure. Right? Like, as long as my interior offensive line do their job, I help Caden Proctor by climbing up and letting him wash that guy around the edge. And he does a good job of that to climb, rip through, locate, and find throwing lanes. He had to throw to the tight end up the left sideline. And that's where his accuracy and ball placement shines, Keith, where he hit him right in stride. It's very rare that you don't see him hit a guy in stride down the field. When he connects, guys don't have to stop. Like, I'm watching certain quarterbacks, and I'm like, yeah, they got to stop and wait for this throw to land, right? Or they got to go up and make a play on it. Ty Simpson is like long handoffs. He had another one to his number 17, and every time I see a fast receiver at Bama with the number 17, I think Jalen Waddle. I was like, wait, Waddle went back? Like, who is this kid? Like, he just split the defense and burnt the DB, and he hit him right in stride down the field for a big 40, maybe 50-yard throw. But it was the anticipatory throw and the accuracy and ball placement on the crossing route against zone coverage with pressure to Jerm Bernard. You see him drop back, right tackle gets beat, he climbs, he rips through the pressure, keeps two hands on the ball, and just layers this throw. Layers it over the second level defender, Keith, and then leads his receiver away from the safety that's triggering downhill. Ty Simpson is a first-round quarterback. He's my QB2 right now. He's completely leapfrogged Dante Moore. That QB1 thing is going to be between him and Fernando Mendoza. This young man is playing good football.
Yeah, he's playing really good football. And the one part of his traits, right, especially when we look at this LSU game that you spoke of that I 100% agree with, is the pocket presence. And taking notes, right, and writing his report, that's the one thing that I kept going to: pocket presence. Like, he understands, and it's a pre-snap, it's pre-snap football intelligence, right? And then it's post snap instincts, if
Yeah.
that's the best way to
I
kind
love
of
that.
explain it, to where he's able to evade pressure, escape the pocket. And then he consistently keeps his eyes downfield, right? Which is good, because any time a wide receiver uncovers, he can deliver the football to them. The second thing for me, especially in this LSU game, was the accuracy, because I think when you look at it in totality, you can say that Bama didn't play their best game of football, right? But also, we know that this wide receiver core, let's say, is good, not great, right? You
Hmm.
had a conversation of, you just mentioned Jalen Waddle, right? But when Jalen Waddle's on the field, also was a Jerry Judy and a Devontae Smith, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think that that's this wide receiver core. But you're watching Ty Simpson fit the ball into very detailed, minute, right? Like small, compact areas, and he's doing it with precision, and he's letting the football go with confidence, right?
Hmm.
For him, it's not a steady beating heart and a wish and a prayer, right? It's I'm getting it there. So I'm
Yeah.
watching Ty Simpson. I'm saying, man, this guy can really play some good football. But I like the fact that I think he's almost versatile and multiple in what he can do. I always talk about, some quarterbacks see the field better vertically, and then some see the field better horizontally. I think he
Horizontally.
sees both, because you talked about these end breakers and living in the middle of the field. Like, that's his thing, right? You want to know if Ty
Hmm.
Simpson is locked in, he's hitting some type of drive concept in the middle of the field, right? Or, it's something to that manner, to where he's throwing with anticipation, letting the football go before the wide receiver even clears the defender behind, like clears behind the defender, right? So Ty Simpson, man, even this LSU game, I think you put up the stats, right? It was 60% completion percentage, one touchdown, one turnover, 277 passing yards. It's not anything from a box score perspective that you're going to look at and say, wow, he had one hell of a game. But if you point out those throws that you talked about, DP, that one when he stepped up, evaded pressure to the right side, and fit that ball in between the defenders, and then the deep ball that he hit the wide receiver on, and then that tight end kind of, I don't know if it was a wheel concept, or I'm not sure how
Yeah.
he
I think it was like an out and up.
Okay, out and up, yeah, and on the sideline, because even that one, it wasn't as though he had plenty of space. He
Right.
still had to hit the tight end in stride, but also he couldn't put it behind him, because
Mhm.
the defender was maybe one step behind the tight end, right? You still had to put it in a good spot. So I look at Ty Simpson, and I'm right there with you. Like, it should come down to him and Fernando Mendoza when you talk about that, but the part of his game that I think will be interesting is the athletic part. Because how athletic do we perceive him to
Yeah.
be, right? And I'm not putting him in the bucket of the Lamar Jacksons and Jaden
No, no,
Daniels,
no, no, no.
but is he athletic enough to make things happen in the NFL with his legs, and how often would you utilize that?
Yeah, I think that's the growth part, because I think he's a good athlete, right? He's a better athlete than Mahomes and Baker Mayfield and some of these other quarterbacks that you see scramble on a weekly basis in the NFL,
Mm.
right? Now they're going to be the leading charge of your rushing attack, like a Josh Allen has, a Cam Newton has. No, they're not going to do those things, but they are able to create with their legs. With him, like I said, they called a QB zone read. He kept it. He got like 10, 15 yards off of it. And then what I love about him as a runner is that he reads and processes things as he's running. So that he is almost like a back in terms of reading and cutting. Whereas like, okay, my receiver has his back is to the line of scrimmage, or his back is to the formation. The corner got outside leverage. I'm not going outside. I'm gonna cut it up off the back of my receiver, make it look like he had a seal block. I get north and south, and I get as many yards as possible. But if that corner shoots down and he seals them, and his back is to the sideline, you see him lateral step, or his little one cut read, and he gets outside. I like that part with him. What I want to see his game expand to is using the question has to be: are you a straight line athlete, or do you have the lateral athleticism when the pocket collapses to make the quick decision, get out of trouble? Like we see guys do all the time. That little spin out, and they spin out of the pocket. Do you got that spin out? Do you got that quick spin to be able to get out the pocket consistently and not get chased down? Right? Like we see that at the next level. So that's gonna be a big thing for him, Keith. Because athletic, I think he's good. Like I say, he's not a great athlete by any means, but he's a good athlete. He can run, but can you get out of the? Can you negotiate the quick pressure and quick penetration by the defensive line on the down and the down out consistent basis in the NFL?
Yep, 100% with DP. Let's do this, man. We're going to cornerback from Clemson, Avion Terrell. Yes, if the last name sounds familiar, that's because he's the younger brother of Atlanta Falcons first round pick, AJ Terrell. Avion Terrell, 3 forced fumbles on the season already. This guy's a playmaker at the defensive back position. Let's talk about Avion Terrell coming up next.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. As the days get shorter and the nights come earlier, it can start to feel a little heavier, especially when life is already packed with work, family, and everything else. This season, it's important. It's so important to reach out and check in with family, friends, and even yourself. Just like checking on a teammate or reconnecting with someone you haven't seen in a while can lift your spirits, reaching out for therapy can make a real difference too. BetterHelp makes that first step easier by connecting you with a licensed therapist online from wherever you are. I've noticed that simply talking things through, even for a few minutes, helps me clear my head and get me back on track. And this month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it simple to take the first step. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Because taking that step towards support might leave you wondering, why didn't I do it sooner? It's in the bloodlines, guys. Keith, is in the bloodlines. If you got the last name Terrell, you're playing football. AJ Terrell, Avion Terrell. Well, it wasn't his
He's about to
last
say
name.
Terrell Owens.
I was about to say Terrell Davis, but that's the first name. Either way, if the name Terrell's in your name, you're playing football at some point. But it's first and last, Keith. He pitched a shutout, man. Avion Terrell, listed at 5'11", 180, targeted 7 times. He had a PBU. He allowed 0 receptions against Florida State. And there was a rep early in that game. He was like press bail against Deuce Robinson. Now, we're going to talk about Deuce Robinson in a minute, but for those who don't know, Deuce Robinson is 6'6", 220 pounds. Avion Terrell, 5'11", 180. And I love the play because he side saddle bail drop out of the press bail. He gets out, his eyes on the quarterback, and you see that Deuce Robinson's running the go route. They're running kind of a fade from like the plus 40, and the way he was able to squeeze the route out of bail tech, squeeze the route, close Deuce Robinson to the sideline, and gave him no room to catch the ball. And I was like, that's what I like to see. But also, I like the fact that, hey, it wasn't a situation where, and we've seen this, Keith, the 5'10", 5'11" guys like trying to punch up. You know what I mean? Don't get to the line of scrimmage against a 6'6", 220-pound target and just try to be physical all game. Because the moment he displaces you, he's wide open. You know what I mean? Like that's just the nature of physics. The moment he outmuscles you at the line of scrimmage and gets you out of his way, that hand's going up. He's looking at the quarterback, man, if you don't throw this deep, I'm good. So he did a good job of that. I love his zone eyes. He can play man. And he played down in the slot a little bit in this game as well. I'm going to be interested to see how NFL teams value him. Because I feel like with his size, certain teams are going to want him to play predominantly nickel.
Yeah. No, I agree, but I also don't think that that's a very bad thing. I think he can be your starting nickel and also give reps on the outside, right? Like I think this is a corner that can do both. One thing that's very interesting, and I spoke to it with the statistics before we transitioned to this segment, right, was the 3 forced fumbles. And this is a young man and that's why I think he can play nickel, because you can ask him to be in run support. He doesn't mind sticking his face in there, and he has a knack for getting his hands on the football and getting the football out of the offensive ball carrier's hands, right? And we talk about making key turnovers and key plays. That's something that's going to be pivotal. And defensive coordinators and head coaches and general managers, I think, will value. The word that comes to me for him is instinctual. He has the things that you can't teach on the football field, just understanding. You can tell he's the little brother of a NFL player, right? A current NFL player, because you can tell certain things he's probably been taught a lot taught a lot earlier than what
Yeah.
normal, would have happened, at his age or whatever it may be. So I'm looking at Avion Terrell, and I still think he's a first round corner. I look at him and I say comps. I I don't mind, and it just reminds me of that draft class with those two Washington corners, whether that was Trent McDuffie or Kyler Gordon. I
Mm,
think he's somewhere in between both of them. Obviously, we know Trent McDuffie is an all-pro player, and then Kyler Gordon is a Pro Bowl-esque
yeah.
type player. I think he's somewhere in that
In that
range of
realm.
what he can be in the NFL.
Yeah, I think with him that was gonna be my question. Is just like like how how does he go to and for me,
Well,
his ability to play man and zone, like
yeah,
he's versatile.
yeah, and remember with Trent, that was a huge conversation too. What everybody
Yeah,
got into the arm length and can he do this and will he be able to match up against the big guys? Listen, I'm all about and understanding length at the cornerback position, but some guys just have it, right? Some
yeah.
guys we always say this, right? Some guys you just throw the measurements out the window and just be like, this guy can play football at the end of the day, and I think that's what Avion Terrell is. He's a throw the measurements out the window type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, in this game, like I said, to be targeted 7 times, not allow a single reception,
Yep.
and have a PBU, like he battles at the catch point. When you talk about the fumbles, I think for him it just comes natural because he's so aggressive in a good way in terms of punching through the pocket of the receiver. Like whether it's you as a ball carrier or when you're going up and okay, let's say the receiver goes up above him, snatches the ball, and on the way down, he's still punching to rake through the hands. Like he understands that. And you know for a fact, his brothers in the NFL, they train together. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? He works with one of the best DB coaches, trainers in the business who works with like JC Horn, I think Pat Sertan. He was training Cooper DeJean this year. Like they work with the same guy, right? So being able to stay in phase, and to me, one thing I like about him too, Keith, is that he's not just good in phase, but he's good out of phase. He doesn't panic. This isn't a
Mhm.
guy that okay, if you do stack me, I know to understand. Don't look back too early. And you as a defensive back coach, Keith, you know how that can be detrimental. If you're running a go route, you get beat early in the rep. If you turn too early, you're like while you're trying to get back in phase, you're basically confirming that this ball is about to be caught because you're not you internally instead of okay he stacked me instead of just full speed just hitting the gas to close that space between you and the receiver. It's better to look back a little right before the ball arrives than look back too early because you can't run full speed. What 100-meter dash champion have you ever seen running 100 meters with their head turned?
Right.
Like no, they're looking forward and their heads down. They're actually in full running phase. He does a good job playing out of phase too. So it's like, and again, that ability to play. I always go back to that LSU game, and I just didn't understand why they didn't do it enough. Aaron Anderson was the one killing them all game on those short
Mhm.
routes. And they did not let Avion Terrell just go into the nickel and nullify that. They left him outside where Garrett Nussmeier really wasn't targeting. It was like he's targeting the slot. He's eating against the safeties who got no business guarding Aaron Anderson. So it's like, okay, let's put Avion Terrell, and they got 1 or 2 reps against each other. And I think he was 0 of 2 targeting Avion Terrell with targeting Aaron Anderson with AT in coverage. So this is a guy, like you said, Keith, first round grade. I'm interested to see what he runs in the 40. Like,
Mhm.
draft season is going to be interesting, but I don't think he doesn't get beat deep a lot. So it's not that
No,
I worry about it, but I want to see what the actual time is going to be.
yeah, if I had to guess, right, just off like very surface level without doing, extreme amount of research, he looks like a 4.45 kind of guy, right? 4.4,
Yeah,
7-ish, right? Like good speed. You wouldn't put him in the elite category, but
right.
good enough to be able to be sufficient.
Carry vertical.
Yeah, carry vertical at the position. And DP, you went back to that LSU Clemson game and that matchup. I think we have plenty of reasons why things unfolded how they unfolded, right? Who'd have thought
Yeah.
heading into that game that we wouldn't have LSU or Clemson nowhere near the playoffs, right? That we were closer to both coaches getting fired than we were teams making the playoffs. We would have never thunk
No,
of
not at
that,
all.
right?
Not at all.
We would have never had that. But DP, let's do this, man. We talked about Avion Terrell at Clemson. Let's go to another ACC team that's been rather disappointing, right? But they have a wide receiver, big Deuce Robinson, listed at what, 6'5, 6'6, 200 plus pounds, plays wide receiver, can do a lot of different things. Let's discuss Deuce Robinson coming up next.
When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting on projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. But do you need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next day delivery. So let's talk about a total game changer here. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use the promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger, and I mean much bigger payout. Plus, it keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team is making that late fourth quarter push, like my Detroit Pistons on their 7-game win streak. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 podcast network in America. We couldn't do it without you guys. Deuce Robinson, Keith, 6'6", 220 pounds, and against Clemson, he had a nice stat line, 9 catches, 124 yards. But that stat line was a little misleading because I'm watching the film of this game, Keith, and I was just like, yeah, I didn't feel it, the 100 yards felt flat to me. Like it didn't feel it's super impactful. Not blaming Deuce at all. It's just like their offense. It didn't translate to a lot of success offensively, right? And then some of it was garbage time stuff on like the last drive before, as the clock was getting ready to expire and everything like that. He had like 2 or 3 catches on their last drive and whatnot, for probably maybe 40, 50 yards or something like that. It's just, yeah, the stat line was definitely misleading. But Keith, I remember tweeting this out. Maybe it was against Virginia. One of the games early this year, he was just balling out.
Might have been a Virginia game.
I think it was a Virginia game.
That's
the game I think they lost that game.
Yeah,
but he was cooking in that game.
Yeah, remember? Yeah, he was. So it probably was a Virginia game because I know he was definitely dominating. But remember, that was also the game too where I think the Tommy Castellanos, the receiver, tried to hit him with the back pylon. And remember, he was open and he kind of bobbled it just a little bit and couldn't get that foot down.
Yep, that was a Virginia game. He was 12. He was 9 of 12, 147 and a touchdown. He should have had 2 if he could have kept his hands on that pass as well. Keith, and I hate to do this to him. I tweeted it out. He's Jimmy Graham. I don't want to play a receiver. I think he's a tight end. I think he's a tight end. I'm not saying that he can't play. It's going to be the Johnny Wilson thing. Not that I don't think he can play receiver. I just think he has so much higher of an upside as a tight end, like the Darren Wallers, the Jimmy Grahams, the movement skills. He's a long stride. He's going to eat against off coverage, zone, because he settles into the soft spots well. He's a big target, so it's easy to see him. But also, he's a long strider. So if you give him a free release, he eats up grass well. He finds the grass that's open, things of that nature, body control and ball skills. He wins the contested catch a lot. This is a guy that I'd rather get him up against safeties and linebackers and just let him go to work. I feel like he could be an engine to a passing offense as a tight end a whole lot more than he could be an engine as a receiver.
Yeah, and you threw out the name Johnny Wilson, right? And those who've been following us for a while, they know that we like Johnny Wilson. We're like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
guy can play football, right? Like we thought he was pretty good. Especially watching him was that at the Senior Bowl,
Senior
right?
Bowl.
And we watched him in one-on-ones, and I was like, yo, like I think his feet are real, right? Like the quickness
Mm-hmm.
is the real deal out there. And just speaking to this point, everybody was like, okay, well, what happened to Johnny, right? Like what
He got
happened
hurt.
to yeah, he got hurt, right? He had to undergo season-ending injury, so
He
he's
got
been on
hurt.
IR. And was declared out for the season before the season even started. I
And I
believe it was
believe he was trending in the right
in the
direction
right direction. Yeah.
before that injury.
Yeah, I think after he got hurt is why the Eagles had to make the trade for Jahan Dotson to try to find a wide receiver 3. So
Mm-hmm.
the Johnny Wilson name conversation is not a bad thing, right? Because
Yeah.
because people are like, okay, what have you done for me lately? Let's throw Johnny Wilson kind of to the side right now because he's injured, right? But looking at Deuce and what he's able to do, the tight end thing would be interesting. How do you feel? Because I know for you, blocking as a tight end is one of your traits that you like the most. How do you feel about that? Or is it just a role that you wouldn't ask him to do at all? Because one guy that kind of came to mind too is Oronde Gadsden,
Mm,
the
I
wide
like
receiver
that.
from Syracuse, who's starting to play decent football for the Chargers because he's kind of in a very specific role as kind of just a middle of the field dominant player, right? Big body
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, he was a guy that successfully made that conversion from receiver
Mhm.
to tight end, and it fits him well. And I think it would be the same thing for Deuce. He packed on some weight. He added about 10, maybe 15 pounds, got north of 230 and everything, but didn't lose his athleticism, didn't lose his movement skills and whatnot. And that's what he's able to, he really gained that trust and earned that trust as a rookie. I think he was like a 5th round pick, or he was like a day 3 pick, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I want to say he was a 5th round pick.
and to be in the offense with Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston, Lat McConkey, and you earn that, you gain and earn that not just respect, but that confidence from Justin Herbert as early as he was able to do this year. That is big time, man. So I think that around the Gadsden one, that hits home very well, Keith, because he made that transition. And I think for Deuce, and I can't remember what title we were talking about recently, but I was like, hey, just be Travis Kelce as a blocker. Just be average. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, I just be
Mhm.
average. Like, just be a big power forward. Set that screen. And it's football, so you can move and you can't call moving screen. You can move with your block. Like, set that screen and just wall the guy off. I don't need you to. I don't need you to Gronk and take on Haloti Nata on Wham concepts and stuff like that. There's only one of them, and he's retired. You know what I mean? So I don't need you to do that, or nor do I need you to be George Kittle as a blocker. Like
Right.
I'm not even going to ask you to do that either. Just be a Travis Kelce type. Darren Waller, I think again that archetype. He learned to be a functional blocker after transitioning from receiver to tight end. Because at the end of the day, it's a like technique thing, a strength thing, but also a want to. Like you got to want to do it as in terms of a skill. So like if he wants to do it and he's willing to make that change, I think you can be a functional blocker out of him. But I just think the upside of him being able to move him around, like get him with a good OC that's just going to let him make plays in the passing game. I mean, heck, you look at, for example, remember the talking point against Colston Loveland? Everybody's like, yeah, he can't block. And then it's like I'm sitting there and I'm rewatching them again, and I'm like, man, it's like maybe March. I just tweeted, I was like, where did this notion come from that he doesn't
Mhm.
block? I was
Right.
like, no, he does block. You can't be in a Jim Harbaugh offense and not block at tight end. So, like, even for him, like, you know what I mean? Being what 6'5", he's around 240, 245. So again, I want to bulk Deuce Robinson up a little bit and get him to 235, maybe 240. Let him still be that big time, big time athlete at the tight end spot. Is let him work, man. I think he could be an absolute playmaker at the next level. Again, I mean, at 6'6", 220, if he stays a receiver, I probably will look at him more of red zone threat for sure, and then probably a power slot, to be honest with you,
Mm.
like at the next level, if he stays a receiver. I don't think he has Because I mean, I think about we always talk about this corners. You get lined up on the outside, and you facing the J.C. Horn, Pat Surtain, Derek Stingley. Yeah, those type of guys.
Those are
Those.
long day type of days.
Yeah, that's a long day at the office, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Or if you facing the Cooper DeJean, you facing Quinyon Mitch, you facing guys who are athletic, who can run with you, and be physical with you within your route stem. I don't think he's going to separate from those guys at a high clip, but against linebackers and against safeties, oh, absolutely. I think he can absolutely and even if he's in the slot, getting up against some nickels, yeah, I feel good about that. Again, no disrespect to Deuce. I think Deuce is a good player. I just think his NFL future could be so much brighter at tight end.
Yeah, no, I agree, DP, and I think he's gonna be an interesting case study because there's gonna be so many different things, right? What does he run in a 40 time, and then hopefully we get eyes on him at one of these All-Star games,
You
right?
run a 4.55 at tight end, it looks a whole lot better than you run the 4.55 at wide receiver. That's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
1 million%, especially if you 6'6" moving that way, right? Like so, and I think they're going to be when we look at it, they're going to be a lot of tight end needy teams. That are going to need some tight ends that could really affect the passing game, because that's been a position that I think has been interesting over the past maybe year or two, how it's kind of carved out and kind of worked out. So we'll see
Yeah,
how it goes. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at the Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about those prospects that need to get an invite and need to go to Mobile, Alabama to the Senior Bowl. They need to go to the Panini. They're not knowing more is it the Reese's. It's the Panini Senior Bowl now. They need to go to the Senior Bowl. Their draft stock is going to basically be in the balance. If they can go to the Senior Bowl and play well, they can kind of erase some of what happened during the season. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.